By now you've probably seen a dozen headlines about people in Cuba protesting shortages of food and medicine. And it's true. There are very serious shortages in Cuba right now, and life has been tremendously challenging there. But none of the mainstream coverage tells you why there are shortages in Cuba. Politicians in the US are choosing to blame the Cuban government for the shortages, saying it's related to state repression and the lack of free markets, as if the government's choosing to have power outages and food shortages. But what none of these politicians or media outlets will ever explain is how the United States has been upholding an illegal and almost universally condemned blockade of the Cuban economy for the last 60 years. The blockade works by preventing any company that does business with Cuba from also doing business with US companies. In other words, the blockade forces companies to trade with either one or the other, and given the choice, most companies will choose the United States since it's the largest economy in the world. Especially as an island, Cuba needs to be able to trade and import goods to meet its needs. So the blockade's enormous trade restrictions can only lead to one thing: shortages. In fact, the US doesn't even deny that the blockade is intended to create suffering. Documents from the beginning of the blockade explicitly state that the purpose of the blockade is to decimate the Cuban economy and cause poverty and hunger so bad that people blame the socialist government for their problems and overthrow it. The shortages are especially bad now because what little hard currency Cuba had for international trade came from tourism, an industry that was decimated during the pandemic. The blockade is estimated to have cost the Cuban economy $1.1 trillion and contributed to countless deaths. Now, if all of this sounds illegal and f***ed up, that's because it is. Every year, the UN General Assembly overwhelmingly votes in favor of ending the Cuban blockade, votes that come out like 184 to 2, 187 to 3, 191 to 2, usually with only the United States and Israel opposing. But the US still refuses to end the blockade. So if Joe Biden, Marco Rubio, or any of the other politicians tweeting out SOS Cuba actually want to do something for Cuba, all they'd need to do is end their own blockade. After all, if socialism didn't work, why would they need to blockade it?